So on the seed side, are we
Yeah.
looking at, is it still frothy? Is it the fact that given it was seed and how early it is, it kind of, these are new and we're outside the bubble. And so it's a higher quality level because they're making it through that
Yeah.
filter that people were now applying because we're now post bubble. What are your kind of thoughts on it still being kind of high?
I think seed is functioning. So seed is the most interesting part of venture to me because it is this, it's like an estuary, like it's a mix of all of these weird stuff that's going on. There's pre-seed, which for me, in my definition, it's just any round under $1 million raised on safes or convertible notes. And then so much of seed has actually shifted instruments away from priced to safes mostly. It's about 50-50 now for rounds over $1 million are on safes instead of on priced. So if you look all across seed, it's down about 20% in terms of total funding from 2021, which is pretty good, all things considered. And if you include safes, it's actually up a little bit from 2021. So there's just like a mix of modalities. People are moving towards safes. And I just think that based on all of, if you're talking about, again, back to the idea about which venture funds are going to survive, there was a lot of talk in 2021 about all these crossover investors, the SoftBanks, the Tiger Global, et cetera, coming in and saying, hey, we're going to be late stage investors into venture and like take these companies public. Now what happened is like a lot of venture investors got very excited about the earliest part of the market. So they moved down market to Series A seed. It's really hard to deploy a big venture fund into seed stage companies. These checks are just not that big. So
You
that
mean
I
I can't
think is,
deploy $1 billion fund into seed? That's not going to work.
how are you? Well, I mean, good luck to you. You'll need to meet quite a few entrepreneurs in order to make that happen. Like, I think that is fundamentally the floor underneath seed stage is fund economics versus, whatever's going on with the intrinsic value of these companies. It is very difficult to deploy tons and tons of money into seed stage startups. Most people want to do that right now because they're far enough away from IPO that you can kind of ignore all the challenges with the IPO market and late stage. But it's just a fact that there are not enough companies that are venture backable to deploy $1 billion into seed stage in a single fund.
But is that part of what we're seeing though in seed? To your point, is the mix of investors? Are we seeing more institutional, like even if they're smaller funds, whether they be single GPs or so versus like angel networks and small things of that nature? And is that obviously when you have a little bit more of the it's sometimes hard to use the word institutional when it's a single GP, but
Sure.
more sophisticated capital might
Yes.
be pushing some of the valuations up, partially because they're understanding that, oh, this is something that is more interesting.
I think that's 100% happening. Yeah, when you use the word institutional, we take it to mean any venture fund that's playing in the pre-seed or seed space, of which there are far more than there used to be. And it also is the case that, we saw a giant upsurge in interest around angel investing and syndicates and all that kind of stuff in 2020 and 2021. That's receded, but it hasn't receded back down to 2019 levels. It's just not at peak. So like more people now are interested in that sort of angel and syndicate investing than were in 2018, 2019. It just, again, if you just compare it to the peak, it's down. So there are a lot of avenues to get in that first money. One of the interesting things that we can't see from the data yet, but I'm fascinated by this year, is are there going to be a bunch of companies that try to take pre-seed and seed and then stop? No more cash, no more funding, and try to fund out of customer revenues or whatever. That's being talked about a lot. I don't know whether companies are actually going to be able to do that. I think it's a fascinating question.